What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one, and we appreciate your support in getting us this far. Now, today, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Prince Power from Powerule. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Absolutely, Soren. I'm glad that you reached out and appreciate what I do.
Yes. Big fan from back in the day all the way till today. So I'm glad we do it. And shout out to EC Illa for super connecting us and making sure this was going to happen. So, my first exposure to Powerule and to you guys was through the Smooth single. But before that, I wanted you to break down kind of getting with Evil, DJ Axe. Like, how did you guys get together to get Powerule in motion?
Well, Powerule was already in existence, and it was created around 1986. And it was myself, a brother by the name of House, and my man Johnny J. Johnny J was already, pretty much an advanced lyricist at that time. I was coming off being in a rock band and kind of wanted to gravitate towards rap a little bit more, just because it just seemed more in tune with my culture. Like, Latinos went from the unpopular guys to the popular guys in the mid 80s. And it was, and I was like, wait a minute, everybody's going crazy over the break dancers, graffiti writers and rappers. So I was a fair break dancer at best. And I used to rock with, hung out a lot with dynamic rockers and stuff. And, but we had our own crews from where we were from, Fresh Style, Freeze Force, stuff like that. My brothers used to DJ, but I never really gravitated towards DJing, but like I can if I really want to. When you were a B-boy back then, you could do a little bit of everything. Like, I had a tag, I could DJ a little bit, I had some breakdance moves. The only thing that I didn't have was a couple of rhymes, but I've always been a writer since I was like 5-6 years old. I used to write my own short stories and books and stuff all the time. So it was a natural fit for me. And especially coming off of being in a rock band and writing songs for them. A lot of rock bands back then just used to do covers. And I actually started writing original songs when I was like 16, 17 years old.
So lots of questions from that then. So what drew you to rock to such a degree that you ended up joining a band?
Well, it was actually because of being bused from different school system to school system. I lived in a Black neighborhood, was in a Puerto Rican household, and was bused to an all-white school system in Bayside, Queens. So once I was exposed to rock music by those individuals, I gravitated towards it and I really liked it a lot.
Like, who are you into?
Well, your classics. And I'm saying these names, but any band that I mentioned, tell me 20 songs. Say, name 20 songs, and I can tell you 20 songs with no problem. So Led Zeppelin is my favorite. Probably after that would have to be old Aerosmith, 1973 Aerosmith, Dream On album. After that, I would have to say, just chronologically, Zeppelin, Aerosmith, along with Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Then chronologically after Aerosmith, your Van Halens, your Def Leppards, your Iron Maidens, your Judas Priest. And then right up into the point where like the Police came out, and they were a very alternative group, but I really appreciated their work.
Well, I'm sure far more about all those groups than I do. But one thing I do remember though is because my dad in particular was more the music fan than my mom. So I kind of figured out everything backwards. Like I would hear the rap song and then have to, when I go to my friend's house, whose parents were listening to other stuff, that's how I learned backwards. So my dad didn't really listen to Led Zeppelin. He was more the Beatles and Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. So when I heard,
Okay, yeah, yeah, more singer-songwriter type stuff.
right. So my dad didn't have a real Led Zeppelin thing. So when I heard Schoolie D did Signifying Rapper, which used Cashmere from Led Zeppelin,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I was like, when I thought at first, I was like, man, that's a crazy groove that he had there. I didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
idea. So when I
Where
heard,
it came from. I actually, when in 1990, when I came out with Brick in the Wall, and I sampled Pink Floyd from the Wall album, which was a seminal album in my neighborhood. It was like one of, well, I'm not going to say one of, well, yes, one of, but it was very important in the Latino and Black community. That was a big record for us. But always in the crates back then, like listening to my brother's DJ, there was never one dominant type of music in those record crates. There was a lot of stuff in there. I could flip through there and I would see the Brothers Johnson, and I'll flip through there and then I see Queen, News for the World, and then I'll flip through there and I'll see Heat Wave, you know, on and on and on and on. So the crates was filled with a lot of different things, Yellow Magic Orchestra, the things that would become the foundations for a lot of music that you heard afterwards.
absolutely, which is amazing because as I started listening and figuring out this sample stuff backwards, it was like every song I was hearing almost I was doubling, tripling, quadrupling the number of songs I was listening to and learning because I was like, oh wait, I remember hearing that at my friend's mom's house or my friend's
Right, right,
grandma's
right, right,
house.
right.
That's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hey, a lot of us learn that way, going into the old crates and stuff, we used to have that whole council that set that was the TV was in it, the turntable was on top, and the speakers was on the side. And I
yep.
used to try to scratch on top of that motherfucker.
I'm sure that wasn't the easiest thing to do.
No, I mean it was easy, but I was really fucking up the records.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't have the
You dropped the little yellow device so that you could put a 45 on top of there. That was dope.
Yep. Okay. So then how did the evolution of the Powerule members end up happening?
Well, once I started to have an affinity for the whole hip hop culture, I found that rapping was my best attribute, and that's what I would be best at. Then I started writing rhymes, and then I met my boy Johnny J, and I met my boy House, and we decided to make a group together. And originally, the name of the group was going to be called Force 3, I believe. And then my boy Poncho, who was down with Dynamic Rockers and Freeze Force at the time, and we used to hang out a lot on 169th and Jamaica Avenue. This is like those mid-'80s. There was a huge God culture, 5% Nation of Islam culture, and it was all around us, especially in the neighborhood that I grew up in and they grew up in. And they never called us Puerto Rican, they always called us Powerule. P for the power in the alphabet, the R for the rule, and 120. So my boy was just like, why don't you just call yourselves Powerule? And I was like, there it is, yup. And then we created Powerule, and we made our bones around the neighborhood, battling in basement parties, park jams. We just be walking down the street one day, and then everybody thought they could take us out because we was Puerto Rican. There wasn't too many Puerto Ricans in my neighborhood growing up. So we were kind of like a novelty until we became a force to be reckoned with. And then we took it from there, and then we started going to my man DJ Tab's house and just making, he had like a 4-track. We throw on Long Red by Mountain, and he just cut it up and we just rhyme over that. And those tapes started circulating. They became pretty popular, and there was like, battles at church basements and stuff like that. And we used to win them all. Then when it came time to actually, hey, let's jump in the studio and let's do this for real. But before that even, we were already being, this guy, Mike Edwards, that used to work for Profile Records, he was trying to sign us. a lot of people thought like, okay, Def Jam has Run DMC, they have Beastie Boys. And remember, I grew up in Shadyville, Queens. So I'm like 2 blocks off of Hollis. So I took the bus with LL all the time. I used to see Run at Jamaica Avenue. We'd sit in the park and I see Davey DMX. And then, you know, you hear all the stories about Russell and everything and all these great Def Jam stories. And we thought that we would be the first. We didn't even consider ourselves Latino back then. We just considered ourselves Puerto Rican. So we thought we was going to be the first Puerto Rican group on Def Jam. It just so happens that my man Johnny J, who was the star of the group, he didn't want to be in show business. He taught me a lot. We killed battles, but he never had that passion to actually step on stage or be in front of the camera or anything like that. So it just came to a point where I had to make a decision whether I was going to carry on or not. And then one day I just started writing solo stuff. And then if you want to go straight into it, rest in peace to my boy Evil. And we're going to put him in the ground this Sunday. He was pivotal on pushing me to go into the studio. He heard of us around the way. A lot of people did. And he was just like, I know this studio downtown. I know this person that can press up records. Push me until I made like 2-3 demos in like 88. And then we just made Smooth one day. It was my boy Axe that was living on top of me, and my cousins were staying in a place in Queens, and he lived upstairs and he was messing around with this little beat machine. And I heard him loop up T Plays It Cool by Marvin Gaye. And then I was just like, yeah. And you know, he was doing well at the time in the business that he was in. And I used to look at him and his friends, and they'd go out, the motorcycles, the gold, the cars, everything. And I'd be like, yo, I want that too. And now I used to pitch a lot back in the days, but I kind of like left it alone because I just didn't want to be in that environment anymore. Like, you know, Crack Eddie's was crazy. And music started to veer me away from that lifestyle into a lifestyle that would be more artistic and more creative. And I just wanted to pursue that. So we spoke, then we put that beat down, and then we gave it to this woman named Dale Schwartz, who was a substitute teacher at that time. We put some money behind it. We put some money behind a video. And yeah, got into the record pools because those were the days of record pools. And all the record pool DJs started playing it. Before you knew it, I was sitting there one day and I heard it on 98.7 Kiss with Red Alert. And then Axe had a connection to Marley Marl. Actually, Tragedy was working up there with Marley Marl at the time, working at WBLS. Axe did that, you know, little gangster shit and brought up a bottle of Dom Perignon, and Marley liked it. I mean, I'm sure he didn't do it for the bottle of Dom. He probably don't even remember that, but it was a nice look for us at the time. A lot of people didn't do that back then. But yeah, he dropped the world premiere on it in '89, and he dropped the Marley world premiere was the equivalent of the Flex Bomb. So he dropped that world premiere, and he played it. I remember he played it right after Big Payback by EPMD. And man, it was like, this is a time when you'd be out in the streets. There was only 2 radio stations to listen to, and you only had them 2 days a week. And that was it. So every car driving down the street had your song on it, and you can hear it reverberate in the streets. So that was like our first social media because everybody heard it, and then they knew where I was at. I was hanging out at my girl's house in Jamaica on 183rd, like right off of Jamaica Avenue, and the line of cars just came to the house and honking horns and everything. It was just like, oh shit, we made it. And it was a good feeling. And the second best feeling after that was when I'm just hanging out in my friend's house and I turn on BET and then I see the video that we made actually come on BET. And actually when we were filming the video, a fun fact is filming the video, we were listening to Marley Marl that night. We recorded it on a Saturday night and P Rock and Clark Kent were DJing up there. And Marley wasn't even DJing no more. He had Pete Rock and Clark Kent DJing. And while we're doing the video, they were cutting the shit out of the song. So it was a nice experience all around.
Yeah, that's amazing.
In the beginning, hip hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.